Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is July 24th, 2024, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's up out there, everybody? This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. Training camp has officially started for all 32 teams. I know some teams just got into camp today, so they'll all be well into it by the end of this week and this weekend. And we'll start hearing about players that are holding out, players that are holding in, how some rookies are doing, so on and so forth. Can't wait to get it going.
Going back to our page, it's time to just celebrate the fact that we are about 43 days to the start of the NFL season. I think I'm going to count down on our page 43, 42. Probably got to catch up. 11 hours ago, that was still today. So this is pretty much today. So yeah, just counting down, man. Just really have that cognizance of how close as it inches forward for us. Benny. First things first, expands to 2 hours starting Monday.
2 hours?
2 whole hours of these three guys bloviating about whatever. Because they said everybody talks about the same thing anyway. They're just going to have 2 hours to talk about. That way Nick can do that many more towers of things. You know, he always likes to build towers of things, of which he pretty much always has the Chiefs at the top or Mahomes at the top, or whatever tower it is he's building. You know,
they do debate a lot. Well, Broussard and Nick Wright, they go back and forth quite a bit.
They have energetic back and forth. Now, my man, what's the other guy named?
Wiles.
Wiles is the funny guy. I think he might even be a Jets fan. I mean, to be quite honest.
No, he's a Patriots fan.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's a Patriot. You're right. Anyway, I sent you this, or I put this up, and you had a conversation. You had a comment rather, and this was an amazing piece of information. It was absolutely amazing. So we're talking about Deion Sanders, right? Florida State, right? Plays right field, okay? They say he's also been spotted hanging out in the Seminoles defensive backfield. And on Saturday, he added to his legend. He showed up. He played an afternoon game against Southern Mississippi at Sarge Fry Field. Right?
What does it say?
It just says, showed up at Sarge Fry Field, played an afternoon game against Southern Mississippi, and then cooled out for a couple of hours. At 7:05, he threw on a track jersey, jogged about 100 yards, and ran FSU's 400-meter relay. He had never run track up to that point. He said he had a little trouble with the baton, but once he got it, he showed why the track coaches wanted him to run in place of their mono-ridden Arthur Blake. So apparently he took somebody's place. They had to bring him in, okay? He was timed at 10-3 in the 100-meter league, right? So once he did that, they said they were planning. There was no question about the fact that he should have been in fast company. There's no question about that. But then he rode over, the baseball coach, matter of fact, rode over on a golf cart to watch his race. And most of the baseball players left their pregame warm-ups, right, to come back and check him out. Now, he put on his baseball uniform, went and played another game, and delivered the game-winning hit in FSU's 6-3 win over Cincinnati. So he played a baseball game, ran track, and then went back and played another baseball game that same day. and he had never really run track before. So that's a typical Deion Sanders day.
That was actually a precursor to what he did once he became a professional. Playing baseball, obviously, football was his main sport. Baseball was also right up there. I believe they were like 1A and 1B as far as he was concerned. Oh, by the way, he was a hell of a basketball player too, but we won't even get into that. But the great athlete that he was, obviously, his speed had been observed by all the coaches of all the different sports. So when the guy from the track team that ran on the relay got sick, obviously looking for somebody to take his place, he was immediately like, yo, is Deion available? He's in between games, right? Grab me some shorts and a jersey for this guy. Throw him in there. He has a little trouble with the baton because obviously he never practiced with the relay team. He was taking somebody's place. Smoked a 10-3 split, changed back into his baseball uniform, goes back to the baseball stadium, and gets the game-winning hit in the game. Just a precursor to when he played for the Atlanta Braves and the Niners and went back and forth between those two. I'm sorry, Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
And did basically the same thing. Jumped in a helicopter. I mean, yeah, he's that guy. That's prime.
Same stuff, a little more blinged out, but I always think about Cuddy. We played with Cuddy, and Cuddy was to me that type of guy who, play a baseball game and go play a football game and go on some track. That was one of the type of guys. Here you go, Benny. We have a situation, as you know, in San Francisco with Brandon Ayuk. He's on the last year of his contract. And as you look around the league, it seems as if it has just become standard business to not honor the last year of your contract, your rookie contract, to hold out until you get a new contract and demand a new contract and not want to actually play on the contract that you signed up for, that you agreed to. And I'm just wondering, myself, should they be held to a standard in terms of contract? Should they be made to honor that last year, in some way?
Well, I answered the question in the comments.
Well, give us the answer here.
The comments come with a picture and an announcement.
The comments come with a picture and an announcement.
Hit my comment. See that picture? What does it say?
Uh-huh. It says he showed up to avoid the fine.
He showed up to practice today.
Yeah,
but he didn't practice.
He ain't practicing.
That's right. What did I say at the beginning of my monologue? We got guys that are holding out, and we have guys that are holding in. He's a hold in. He showed up to camp. He did not dress. He did not practice, but he also did not get fined $50,000 per day. As long as he's in camp, he doesn't incur any fines. The question is not should. They have to. He was a first-round pick. First-round picks get 4-year contracts with a 5th-year option. The option belongs to the team. If the team says we're going to exercise your 5th-year option, you are still under contract, and only they can choose to renegotiate or negotiate a new contract for you. You can hold that if you want to, but you're going to get fined.
Well, I guess
you can't go play for anybody else. You can't force a trade. I mean, you could try to force a trade, but if we're talking about Brandon Ayuk specifically, if they were going to trade him, I think they'd have done it by now. And when we talked about this contract issue earlier this year, I was of the opinion that there was no way they would let him get away. meaning that they would trade him.
I'm not actually talking about IU in particular. I'm kind of just asking this question in general across the board. Now, you kind of answered it to some degree, because if they don't show up for camp, there's a pretty heavy fine. And and maybe what I'm saying here is the fine heavy enough. But I mean, it just seems to me that in the mind of the player, okay, I got one more year, like in Ayuk's position. I think whatever he's getting paid, 14 million. I'm gonna get 14 million, and then I'm open to do whatever I want to do. But rather than coming into camp and being a holdout by not really practicing and all of that, just to avoid the fine and playing that whole fine game, I'm just wondering, is the psyche there that that says, okay, I'm gonna sign this contract, but I ain't gonna, I'm not gonna honor it. At least that last year, I'm gonna fight over that. So, it just seems to me that they want that fifth year, they want that extra security, but then it all of a sudden becomes a problem for them, and it's not enough money 5 years down the line. So, I don't know. I just think they should. I kind of think they should honor the contract, go play hard. Let the chips fall where they may. And not be like, oh, I gotta have another contract. This is not enough. You probably got paid 40-some million just because you were in the first round.
This is why the owners wanted to have the option year. Because if you're a first round pick, you're expected to be a star. You're expected to be a major player on that team. You're expected, if not start from day one, to start shortly after you come into the league, meaning that you're good. So they expect you to really be good.
Yeah.
So after that fourth year, they want to squeeze one more year out of you on the cheap. You know what I mean? The Players Association voted this in.
Yeah.
So it's in. So the owners hold the hammer on this fifth year. So you cannot sign up, you cannot dress for training camp. You cannot line up for your first game, but you're still under contract. You will still be fined, and you will still not be free to move to another team.
Okay, interesting. I was coming from a slightly different perspective, but the bottom line from what you're saying is that it's built into the contract that they got to honor to a certain degree.
Right. Now, when you say honor, you're saying, I'm going to honor the contract, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to play.
Yes.
Okay. You're tied to the contract. All right. So you might as well play. The team's thing is, and again, only players that play extremely well can come at the team like this on their fifth year option. Everybody doesn't do it. But players that play really well, them first 4 years, they're like, hey, look, CD Lamb, same draft, same situation. He didn't show up for camp. He's going to pay the fine. But CD Lamb is a top 3 wide receiver, arguably. Top 5 for sure. So he's saying, pay me now, because if you don't, I'm going to come in, I'm going to play, and when the season's over and I'm an unrestricted free agent, it's going to cost you more. Or you're going to have to trade me.
Let me see something here. CD Lamb, right now, with this last contract, it looks like he's funny here. In his base salary, okay, from 2020 through to 2024, the early years he didn't really get paid much. 610,000. 2021, 1.2 plus million. 2022, 1.8, almost 1.9 million. 2023, 2.5 million. So less than 3 million, averaging down closer to $1 million per year in the first 4 years.
Exactly.
2024, he's scheduled to make 17.9, almost 18 million.
Right. But he's balling. He's balling like dudes that's making 26. So he wants that money.
Yeah, he wants that money. But it is interesting how they did put all of that money on the back end, of his contract, like almost 18 million.
Right.
The top guys, top five receivers, I do believe, are making somewhere in the area of, on average, 28 million. So
On average, yeah, about 28, 29.
yeah,
There's a couple of guys in the 30.
right.
Justin Jefferson, those
Exactly.
kind of guys. So if he's balling like those guys are balling, he's saying, give me that same money now. Because if you don't, I'm going to break the bank this time next year.
Well, I don't think that when you say if you don't, I'm going to break the bank, that's an interesting threat because he's going to break the bank one way or the other. The only question is he going to come in this year for his 17 million and play like like the all-star that he is?
If they give him 31 tomorrow, they give him 31. If he plays out this year on 17, they're going to have to pay him 35. Their choice.
Okay. And I'm sure they understand that, but like you always say, every year they're making more money, the cap goes up. They might be in a better position to pay him 35.
Then
Might be in a better position to fill in some people around so that they can make a real run for a championship this year, depending on how they manage their cap. But that's what he was scheduled. That's what he's scheduled to make. I was just wondering what it was that he was scheduled to make. And he's gonna, that's what these guys do. So all right, let's move on, Benny. Have you seen the story about our man Terrell Davis?
Yes, I saw the interview.
What did you think about this situation?
Weird.
Wasn't it?
Very weird. I'm not exactly sure what was going on. Again, usually when things like this happen, you want to hear a couple different perspectives. Obviously, you hear the news report or whatever, or maybe a TMZ thing, and then you hope that the person gets to speak for themselves and you hear their version, okay, which I did hear. After hearing his version, it's him and his wife together, by the way. It sounds like the flight attendant had some kind of mental something going on. That's just my opinion.
It did sound like that. It did sound.
That's the way it sounded to me.
It had shades of the playmaker.
Michael Irvin?
Remember he talked to the young lady and the thing?
That was a setup. As far as I'm concerned, that was a setup.
You think so?
Yep.
Whatever it was, it wasn't like he did anything or, he couldn't have said but so much because they only talked for half a second. But
right.
All of a sudden it blew up into a bunch, and here, like you said, he tapped the guy to see if he could get some ice and water for whatever reason. The guy went off like, don't hit me.
Right.
So, it seems as if he was pretty much allowed to go. However, I do think that we will see lawsuits out of
absolutely.
You know what I mean? There's no doubt in my mind we're going to see some lawsuits out of that. All right, Benny, this is a piece. So, Benny, as we begin to move into the preseason, and we're talking about contracts and spending and things like that, I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at who's spending what on what part of their game. Where are they really investing the money? So here in these two columns, we have the top 10 in terms of spending. So on your left, you have the offense, and on your right, you have defense. So just to kind of just throw it out there, it's just starting right off at the top. But the Browns are in #1 spot in terms of spending on offense at 191,031,446. That's $191 million. Steelers on the defensive side are the top spenders at 161, almost $162 million on their defense. The Browns don't appear in the top 10 on offense in terms of spending at all. And the Steelers don't appear in the top 10 on offense. Well, we know why the Steelers know, right? They don't have to spend any money on quarterbacks. They're getting quarterbacks on the cheap. So that's going to keep this spending down automatically. Your Rams that you like so much, #2 in spending on offense.
Who said I like the Rams?
Well, you like their running back for your
That means I like the Rams?
for the fantasy.
Go ahead, man.
The Chiefs are coming in at 170, almost 171 million, followed by the Cowboys. Now you got a nice drop there, about 12 million for 170 or 158 for the Cowboys. I'm surprised to see the Falcons right in the middle of the top 10 in spending. Hadn't really thought about them like that, and much less your Giants is right behind them. Falcons at 151, your Giants at 149 million. So, and then here comes my Niners coming in at 147.4, the Panthers at 147.1, and the Bengals at 143. So out of that top 10, let me see. You consider the Browns a playoff contender?
Sure.
So you got the Browns. I'm going to assume the Rams, yes.
Yes.
Chiefs, we know.
Yes.
Cowboys,
Yes.
Falcons,
Maybe.
Giants,
No.
Colts,
Maybe.
maybe. Niners,
Yes.
Panthers,
No.
no. Bengals,
Probably.
probably. Yeah, not bad. So that's about 1, 2, 3.
So these numbers are very misleading. First of all,
Why do you say
let's remember the Browns are paying a fortune to one guy, Deshaun Watson. That blew that whole thing up.
I mean, the numbers are the numbers, you know.
No, I understand what you're saying.
What are they misleading
When you
people
say
about?
offense, then you think, well, their offense is well paid, but their offense isn't well paid. A few of their players on offense are very well paid, and the rest of them guys are paid, kind of paid, maybe paid. You see what I'm
Well, you
saying?
know, you're absolutely right in terms of the distribution of that money.
Right,
But overall, when the bill come in for the year and they hold it up, it's $191 million. Yes,
right,
they might have gave half of that to the quarterback.
right.
You know what
Which everybody and their mother said and still says was a mistake.
You know, so it's just
I would say the Rams' money has been well spent. The
okay.
Chiefs' money has been well spent, even though Mahomes takes up a lot of it. The Cowboys' money has been well spent. Even the Falcons' money, considering the problem with the Falcons being where they are, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth, is they haven't shown the production on the field for the money that they spent. Same thing with the Giants, haven't shown the production on the field for the money that was spent. And here you have a team like the 49ers that are way down on this list, even though it isn't, it's still in the top 10, that have probably the best offense out of all the teams on the list. So their money is extremely well spent and is probably spread out a lot more evenly than the teams above them. That's the way I look at it.
Well, we're kind of like the Steelers in terms of what we're spending on quarterbacks right now. So, you know, we're saving a ton on quarterbacks, the complete opposite of the Browns, as you brought up there. You know what I mean?
And that's about to change too.
Yeah, well, that is going to change. But interestingly, in 10th place is the Bengals, and they paid their quarterback nicely, didn't they?
He's yeah, they did. Joe Burrow got nice, but
Yeah.
Joe Burrow kind of reset the market months and months ago. I mean, several guys have come in after him and signed and went higher. So,
Well, okay, all right. So that's just just gives an idea. I was just looking to see how people were spending their money versus offense, especially who was on both sides of the charts in terms of top 10 spending.
right. So the teams you see on both sides are the 49ers, the Bengals, and the Falcons, right? Am I missing anybody?
Keep looking for the Ravens on offense, and I don't see it.
It's just those three.
Just those three on both sides. Yeah.
Right. And the 49ers are a top team, which means, again, they're spending their money well. Who else did I say? The Bengals, when Joe Burrow is healthy, are a top team, which
Yeah.
means they're spending their money well.
Yeah.
And the Falcons are kind of on the cusp. There's that word again, cusp, of being close to being a top team. We'll see if Kirk Cousins has any juice left and he can get them over the hump. But nobody else is on both sides of the ledger.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I just
Not even the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been getting away. Well, the reason the Chiefs aren't on the defensive side is their defense is still extremely young. So they got a lot of guys still on their rookie contracts. That's going to
they're about 4 years in at best, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah. Kind of like what they did last year with all of those young guys at receiver. You know what I mean? They had a lot of young people at receiver. So
So they're saving money there. And they don't have any real big time, big name linemen either. They just coach them up really well.
Okay. Well, Andy Reid was a lineman, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
I still think about Andy Reid and that punt, pass, and kick contest standing in line.
I know that was funny. Got all those little 5'4" kids, big, gigantic. Like, wait a minute, what is he, like 18? He's way bigger than everybody else.
Oh my goodness, so much bigger than everybody else. It's absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Well, I have some good news, Benny. I have some good news for both you and I. Good Morning Football is
I saw that
in July.
They're back. They're back. Monday, I think, is the first show Monday.
I think it's the 29th or something like that.
Right. So, and what time are they coming on? 8 in the morning?
I got to double check. They used to come on earlier than that, but they're in LA now.
Right, which means they're going to have to be in the studio at like 5.
No. Okay. They're when
if they start the show at 5 LA time, it'll be 8 o'clock here.
They were in at 5 anyway over here because the show started at like 6 Eastern.
Okay, well then it won't be no hardship for
them. A big deal, yeah.
Yeah, great.
With that. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So Benny, did you see the race between Tyreek Hill, Ocho Cinco, and Terrell Owens?
First of all, T.O., for his age, and I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but he's up there, what, late 30s, early 40s?
Yeah.
Okay. He's in phenomenal shape
for
his age. So Tyreek Hill gave him a head start. And I think he did eventually run him down at the end of the race, but T.O. was picking him up and putting him
down. I don't think he ran him down. You want to see it?
He was booked. Yeah, show it real quick.
Here we go.
Hey, where we at? This moment right here. Ready. Are you ready? Yeah.
So he's got like a 10-yard head start.
Hold it, G. Hold it. Hold it, G. Let's
No,
go.
he didn't get it.
Let's go. Let's go, baby.
Oh, you teach me.
So he held that 10-yard head start. So
He
he
got
started
Senko,
even.
though.
Yeah, well,
Senko about the 90th yard somewhere around there.
yeah, straight speed was never his thing. His thing was quickness.
Now they're gonna run the 40. Let's run the 40. We want to thank everybody for following. We want to ask them to please leave comments and suggestions. We want them to click the like button and the notification bell so that you can get all of the good Ben and Barry on football commentary. And our website is www.benandbarryonfootball.com. Our hashtag on Facebook is football is life. So you'll find a lot of our information if you just follow the hashtag from wherever you are on Facebook. So I'll just end it at this, Benny. I'm going to come back next week. I have some numbers and things that I'm looking at. And there's a question, or it seems to me that I can see the reason why the Niners are holding out on paying Ayuk. I think it has more to do with their available cash than it does with Ayuk. And they're going to have to wait until probably near the end of training camp to see how they're going to trim the roster and open up whatever money they're going to be able to open up for him. Let's put it this way. We only have 30 million of cap space available in 2024. 30 million is about the going rate for the top receiver. So that would pretty much nix that. The real challenge comes next year when we're already, I think, 30 to 40 million over the cap for next year. So
Price you pay for being good.
well, maybe so, but that makes it that much more of a challenge to try to give out contracts, especially if you want to extend the contract. It also kind of adds another, thing to it when you think about it, because like, okay, if they get Brandon Ayuk to play this year on that contract, who knows if they could bring him back next year if they wanted to, unless they do some real restructuring, some serious restructuring going to have to happen. So the impetus is to get it done this year. Don't know what it's going to look like next year, but for this year, they only got about 30 million to spend. So they're going to have to find some serious budgeting, some serious cap manipulation. Maybe they need to call Howie Roseman and get some cap.
No, I'm sure John Lynch will do his due diligence. I believe that they drafted Ricky Pearsall to be their security blanket for whatever it is that they decide to do at that position. The way I see it, if you re-sign Juwan Jennings and you draft Ricky Pearsall, and again, we have to see if Ricky Pearsall really works out.
He's already injured.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we have to see how he works out and can he handle the NFL, for lack of a better, before they can, but they got the whole season to figure that out. In the meantime, if they do what they got to do so that they can give Ayuk what he wants, and there's no guarantee that they're going to be able to give him what he wants. They may not be able to.
That's my point. That's my point.
Right. I mean,
well, if he's already in the budget for 15 mil, for example, maybe this year they can say, look, we can bump you to 30 mil. We give you another 15 for this year, but we don't know what's going to happen next year. You know what I mean? So because of that,
well, they already offered him 26, which puts him up there with like Devontae Smith and close to Mike Evans, which I think is quite fair.
Yeah, really.
And he turned that down.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's what I'm saying. 30 mil is all they got.
but the other problem is your left tackle Trent Williams wants to restructure.
Yeah, I did that kind of came out of left field on me when
he's due 20 million this year and 23 next year. but he saw what the Lions did for Penei Sewell, and he wants something like that. He wants a $112 million extension. Now, he's not a spring chicken no more. So he's trying to get as much as he can on the back end of his career while he's still considered one of the top left tackles in the game. So he's kind of got them over a barrel a little bit. I'm
He's
sure.
got a contract too, right?
Yeah, he's under contract. Yes.
So
did
he has
not
to come
show-
in, he has to at least show up, or he'll be fine.
He already held out the first day. He's already been fined.
So he didn't show up at all.
No.
So he's taking the fines.
Yes.
Some of these guys are making so much money, they can afford the fines for a little bit of time.
Right. And I'm sure their agent's already done the math.
Yeah.
So they know how long they can stay. You know what I mean? I got a funny feeling that midway through training camp or after the first or second preseason game, that they figure out a way to get both these guys in there. They'll do something. But I tell you what, if they give Trent Williams the extension and they do sign Ayuk to a number that he's happy with, because I'm sure he wants a 3 or 4 year deal. Then come next season, there's a good chance Debo's out of there.
Good chance. They can't
So-
keep everybody, at top.
No, keep
And
That's why they got Ricky Pearsall. So a lot of this, they're really hoping Ricky Pearsall works out, because if he doesn't, that throws a little wrench in their plan, but they'll do what they got to do.
absolutely. And it just does add a little more fear in my heart about us getting back to the Super Bowl when you have these type of issues. But like I said, number one, they normally wait till late in the season. That's not unusual for the Niners to get some of these contracts done. So they, every year I'm sure it's the same thing. Guys get signed and the cost goes up. But I'm just really interested to see how they're going to manage 2025 since they're already above the cap. They have no cap space. They're about 30-40 million above the cap. So that's going to take some wizardry, some cap wizardry. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, Benny, I'm done.
That's it for me.
All right, peace.
Later.